Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name is Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. We haven't had anywhere near as much rain this week, but we've had very cool, cold, misty, wet mornings, and then the days have been turning out to be fairly nice, still quite cold. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Miranda jumper today and the Noro striped cowl. I'll put the links to both of the patterns below. I have spoken about both of these many times before, and these are one of my favorite combinations for wearing over here in the shed when it is slightly cooler. So everything is lovely and green, and grass is sort of starting to grow back everywhere. The sheep's paddock's actually doing pretty well because I have opened up this other section for them out here by the shed. I did get some fencing done last week. I did some reinforcement and some patching, I guess. I added an extra star picket in the spot where there is some garden on the other side, and connected the mesh to that so that there is less space for them to push through or to like climb onto. And then I also moved a star picket to kind of tighten up the mesh in another area as well. Then I did a perimeter check, just double checked around the bottom. So because sometimes like Hurley will stick his head out and sort of lift up the wire, and then one of the others can get their head out underneath. So I got the clips and clipped a few of the sections around the bottom. And I think for the time being, until they really push it again, it seems to be holding up fairly well. They are in there now, and there is still green in there. There is still green in their main paddock. I can't really close them off and just keep them in this small section because there's no shelter and it has been wet. And Hurley particularly doesn't really like the rain. He'll always go inside in the shelter when it starts to rain. There's also only a small bucket for water in there rather than the big bars, and they drink quite a lot of water. And also I'd have to move hay into there as well. So I'm sort of letting them roam between the two in the hopes that they will attack the green grass out here more than they will their main paddock, and it'll sort of balance it out and give it enough of a rest to be able to get that continual growth happening without them completely trashing everything. I also managed to get one, I think it's going to be last lot of blackberry spraying done. We're at the point now where quite autumnal and the leaves will start to turn and fall off the blackberry plants anyway, and you need the leaves to be able to soak in the spray to take down into the roots. So Mum came up and we finished together the One Tree Hill paddock. Just there was a back section to do. So we've done the 3 paddocks this season, which was actually quite a big job. There was a lot of sort of carpeting of blackberries throughout, which made it difficult. You sort of had to spot spray in a lot of different areas, but we could see what we had done in the One Tree Hill paddock already. It had started to die back. So we could sort of see where we're up to and just hopefully finish off the last little bit. So with both going into cooler, wetter weather and the leaves falling off, that's probably the last spray we will get done. And we will then focus and think about what we're going to do next year. And we'll probably end up having to do the paddocks in reverse. So we'll do the One Tree Hill paddock first because it probably didn't get as much attention, I guess. We'll sort of see how it goes and what they look like once the spray has taken effect. And of course, we did not even tackle any of the bush this time around. So there will be some work to do back in there again. But just from the road where we'd done a lot of the work last year, it's still looking quite good, which is quite encouraging that you're kind of able to get rid of some of the big blackberry and have natural bush come back in so that it doesn't grow quite as much straight away, at least. Last Sunday, I was at the All About Fibre and Yarn Festival Market in Birregurra. We were in a really lovely town hall. The weather was really nice. A lot of the locals came, as well as people that have come from Melbourne and Geelong. And the vendor group was really nice as well. So I had a really lovely day. I was so exhausted though. Um, So I chose to drive to Creswick the day before, which is about a 2 hour, 15-minute drive from home, rather than doing the 2.5 hour drive from home in the morning down to the market, because I thought that's getting up way too early, and it makes for a super long day to drive 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, and also run the market stall for the whole day. So I went up to Creswick the day before, stayed there, then didn't have to get up quite so early. It was only about an hour and a half drive from Creswick to Birregurra. Quite a country through back roads kind of trip, but only an hour and a half, which made getting up not quite as difficult. And so I got there about 8:15, set up, had a lovely day, and then as soon as the market was finished, I drove all the way home. So over the 2 days, I did drive quite a bit, but I was able to spread it out over a length of time rather than having to do a 5 hour drive, or a total of 5 hours driving in one day. And as I got home, came over here to the shed, literally just threw everything inside, and then got straight into bed. I think it was about 7 o'clock, and I was just out. I was just so done. Uh, I said it was a really lovely day, and in terms of the being around the yarn people and all of that, it was just so wonderful, because it has been a while since I've done a market. But yeah, by the end of the day, I was so ready for a sleep. My next market is also an All About Fibre and Yarn Festival market, and it is in Warragul on the 28th of April. All of my market dates will be in a link below, so you can check those out, and I'll be promoting the dates on my Instagram page as well. I did want to mention that for this festival, they do a $2 entry fee, which is a donation to charity. They are donating all of that money to a local hospital within the area that the market is taking place, which I think is really fabulous. It is a nice contribution to the local community. So we're not only bringing yarn and fibre to a community, but we're also contributing to their local hospital. And I think that Nellie and the team at All About Yarn and Fibre have done a really wonderful job to organise all of these events and to contribute to such a great cause. Before I left for the market last week, I did manage to get another batch of DK dyed up. It wasn't dry. I didn't get to take it with me, but it is dry now, so I will be getting that ready for the next one. I knew that I wasn't going to have a huge amount of time between these next lot of markets to be able to top up stock, and I thought when I got back from this market, I will try this week to get one more lot done, so that I can just top up any colours that were popular from Birregurra that I can then take to Warragul as well. But I have added a few extra colours to what I will be able to take with me for the next one in Warragul. Let me show you. So the colours from this past week were denim, teal not green, sitting pretty, and to the fudge room. It's cool this morning and sort of damp in here, so I'm going to just give them a good air out before I reskein and label, hopefully this afternoon. I also did a couple more one-of-a-kind skeins. I'm having a lot of fun just playing around with those, and they're a nice sort of different pop of colour to have on my market stall. And all of them got snapped up, all my one-of-a-kinds from the previous market. So I'm going to have a few more for this one. So there's these two one-of-a-kinds. And I also wanted to show you the tube that I did last week that I talked about. It's really pretty. I'm surprised it didn't sell. So it will be available in Warragul. So it's 2 strands of sock yarn that you can then just from here unwind or pull out and knit with. So I think that's really pretty. I also have to head to the post office today. I've got a notification that I've got more yarn waiting for me to pick up. Not my wispy lace weight yarn yet. It's still on back order, but I'm hoping that I get that really soon because I would love to get some of that dyed up and ready for markets for May and June. My other job for this week will be to go back through the tubs from the weekend and just double check the stock where the colours that were popular and sold and decide whether I'm going to have time to get them done for Warragul or for the next market, and also just to tidy up and make sure that everything's ready to go back into a really lovely display. I always pack down in a much more messy way than I put things up. So when I start here, I'm very methodical about having everything on hooks and in color order and knowing exactly where everything is. And pack down comes and it's really quick, and one thing goes in one tub and a bit of that other thing goes in a different tub. And because you sell stock, it changes how you pack everything. And I always need to do a review and a rejig to get everything back ready for the new market to be able to get it set up in a really efficient way. So that will be happening this week as well. I got quite a bit of knitting done this week. The first thing I'm going to show you is some two at a time socks that have kind of been hibernating for a while. And I don't think I even showed these in my unfinished objects video from a few weeks ago, because I forgot that I had them, because these sit in my sock teaching bag because they are two at a time socks in my yarn. So they're a good example of socks and also a good example of my yarn. So I thought I would take them to the market so that I had something to work on that was actually in my yarn. So I don't think I have anything else on the needles that is. So, and they're super easy to be able to pick up and put down at any time, as well as show off Brown Streams and Soft Dim Skies and Princess of Pink. So I did a little tiny bit on that during the day at the market. What I've mostly been working on, and this has been in the evenings, I've been taking myself off to bed reasonably early. Once it gets dark and as it's getting cooler at night, it's just much more comfortable to just put the pajamas on and to snuggle into bed. And so I've just been sitting and doing a few rows most evenings of the Mosaica shawl, and I've made quite a lot of progress. I am using 3 colors of indie dyed yarn. I've got the Yarn Trader Tea in the Garden, which is the white. I've got a one of a kind from Bombed Yarns, which is like a grey purple. And then I've got Owl of Athena in the Potion colorway, which is the dark kind of bluey purple tonal. So here is my progress so far. I think when I showed you last week, I was still in this section here. I might have just started these diagonal steps. So there's little slip stitch sort of triangles through here. These are little dots. This is a textured, and they're the dots in the reverse color. And I'm just starting into the third of the solid textured sections, which I think is going to be sort of a basket weave kind of design. So I probably get about, and now that it's getting longer, I'm getting less and less rows done each evening, but I'm getting a few repeats done, which is really quite satisfying and a nice way to finish off my day. I did also this week do a little bit of work on my Effervescence jacket by Joji Locatelli. I'm doing it in a range of Alaray Sparkle mohair yarns, currently still in the first colour, which is the Wisteria. I have placed markers for the repeats, and I've done a second repeat of the lace pattern, so you can see it starting to form there. So I was able to much better keep track of my stitches. I had to fudge it after the first repeat and add a stitch, but I'm on track now, and I'm fine with the fact that I had to fudge it a little bit. It's a fly there. So I've also done some maths because in the pattern she uses 6 colors and I'm only going to be using 4. Her suggestion is to do the same amount of marled stitches for a 4 color sequence as she did for a 6 color sequence. But I'm not sure that I want to do that. I would like to have more of the marl because I think, especially with the colors that I've chosen, and I don't have my little samples here, I think that the marl is actually prettier than some of the solids by themselves. It'll end up being a much thinner stripe than the solid section. So what I'm going to do is work out the ratio of the solid to marled sections that she has in her 6 color version. And I'm going to translate that through to a 4 color version, which means at this point in her pattern, you would be starting the first marl section. But so I think there's going to be probably 2 more repeats of this lace before I start into the marling, which is totally fine. So I have left it for a minute because I am still doing the maths on how I want it to be. Because I really, really like this pattern, and the end result I think is going to be just this beautiful cloud of a jacket to wear, which I'm quite excited about. So I do want to get the best result that I possibly can out of the colors. So that's going to be the back. You can see that's the neck there. And once I've worked out the maths. Once I've decided that that's what I'm 100% going to do, I will continue working. Because if I choose to do it her way, I'd be starting to marl now. So that's why I've sort of paused it for a little bit, just to make sure that I'm going to be happy with the outcome if I do it my way. Because as I've said before, this is mohair, held double, so pulling it out is not going to be an option. It'll just become an absolute mess and not usable yarn anymore, and it'll go in the bin. So I need to be sure that that is how I want to proceed before I continue. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.